YouTube channel. If you're new here, I'm Ava. I'm older. Want to be part of our HurriKids family? Subscribe and turn on those post notifications to get notified every time we post a new video. Now on to the video. So today we're going to be reading to you 3 different books. These 3 books. We're going to read is The Lion and the Bird.
I will be acting these out.
So let's just get right into it.
I'm going to be acting these out. So, yeah.
The lion is working in his garden when he hears a sound. You can see this. By the way, okay, next page. Oh, poor little thing. Lion can't just leave him there. There's a bird, and he got hurt. Let's bandage you up, says Lion. That'll help. Oh no, they're flying away.
Bye, time.
Don't worry, you won't be cold here. You're welcome to stay with me. There's more than enough room for the both of us.
But I don't want to stay with you.
Yeah. And then there's a picture of them eating, going by the fireplace, brushing their teeth and going to bed.
Aww.
Wait. Silent night.
Silent night.
Look, it's snowing! The snow is cold and icy, but you're snug and warm. He's in his hat.
Snug and warm.
They spend the winter together, enjoying each day. It snows and snows, but winter doesn't feel all that cold with a friend. Then one day, spring returns.
Fly, bird, fly.
And the others too. The bird that stayed with the lion throughout winter, his flock came back.
Wow.
Yes, says Lion, I know.
But you gotta fly.
The bird had to fly away. He had to go back to his flock.
Bye, bye.
And so it goes. Sometimes life is like that. He's all by himself. Then he's in the garden again. Lion's garden grows. Summer passes slowly and softly. Then one day, autumn returns.
Hey.
And how about you, Lion wonders? Maybe, just maybe. I don't want to come to your house. And the little birdie came back. Together, we'll stay warm again this winter. Wow. That was the end. This book was very short. So Cash is now going to read Louis
1, King of the Sheep.
Louis the First, King of the Sheep. Are you done? Sorry, there's a very annoying truck.
Vroom, vroom.
Are you done? Okay.
What would you do if a truck? No.
This is Louis the First, King of the Sheep. Read the story already. Would you please start getting bored?
Click off the video. Do it.
Don't do it.
And so it was one windy day that Louis the sheep.
Thereby came Louis.
Thereby came Louis
the First.
Louis the
Stop.
King of the sheep. The first thing Louis the First thought was that to govern a king should have a scepter and a throne from which to hand down justice, because justice is rather important. In a grand king's bed where all could behold him as he settled down for the night. Weirdo. Louis the First also told himself that a good king should address his people from time to time. Other than that, he would spend his time hunting, chasing after deer, wild bear, and above all, lions. But since there were no lions in his kingdom, he would have them brought to him for his pleasure. He'd also stroll through his royal gardens, which would be tended by only the best gardeners.
I see you.
And Louis I would receive the world's greatest artists at his palace, where they would perform before him and his court.
Our mom was just there. You saw me sing. I see you.
Ambassadors from far and wide would also travel long distances to pay tribute to him, King of the Sheep. Rocking along my feet, do 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 do. Cringiness. But first and foremost, Louis decided he must bring order to his kingdom. He had commanded his people to march behind him in sheepstep.
Show them this picture. This picture is cool.
Next, Louis I decided that only the sheep who resembled him could live at his side. He resembles him. What are you doing, man? The others must be driven out. Wish you over there. But then upon another windy day, Louis I, King of the Sheep, became Louis the Sheep once again.
No crown anymore. You show them the picture.
Pause the video.
No crown anymore.
Pause the video, please.
Don't pause the video.
So that you can look at the pictures.
Oh no, it got onto a fox.
Yeah.
A fox got the crown.
Because I'm sure that foxes walk on two legs. Approved by science.
That was the end of that one. Now, on the back it says, "What's good for me is good for my people, Louis I." Oh yeah, this was the front cover. Boo! Boo! So the last and final book that we are going to be reading is The Big Brown Bear.
Big brown bear, I'm a big brown bear.
The Big Brown Bear. Once there was a big brown bear who lived with his wife inside of a cave. This book smells old and musty and dusty because we've had it for like ever. Can you spell it?
It's like bird farts.
"Please, dear," she said to him one day, "run down to the brook and catch some fish for dinner. But don't go near the beehive in the old dead tree. Remember what they did to you last time?" And the bear's wife lit the fire and took down her frying pan stop. "You're shaking the chair!"
I'm acting it out.
Meanwhile, the big brown bear walked slowly down the path toward the brook. Of course, he had no intention of even looking at the hive, but before he knew it, there he was, heading straight for the old dead tree. He sniffed the good smell of honey, and it made him walk faster and faster he walked. The better it smelled. As soon as he reached the tree, he pushed his paw into the hive and grabbed a piece of honeycomb. Inside, the busy bees were making wax and honey. Oh, I forgot to show you the picture. But the minute they saw that big paw wrecking their home and stealing their precious honey, they rushed out, darting in all directions and droning like a million airplanes. The bear yanked out his paw, and then he let out a big roar, and he ran away so fast that he left the bees far behind him. Again, I forgot to show you the picture.
Wow.
But alas, he caught his foot in the root of the tree and tumbled over and rolled down the hill into a thorn bush. Swarming after him in a big cloud, the bees were ready to zoom down on his head. So the poor bear had to act fast. Pulling and kicking and tugging, he tore himself loose at last, leaving a great deal of his fur in the bush. Ouch. He ran toward the brook, jumped in the water, and hid there with only his nose showing. The water was very chilly, but he didn't dare to move, even when a water snake came and tickled his foot. The bees circled around and around, looking for him everywhere. Suddenly, they spotted him under the water like a big brown rock, and they swooped down and landed smack on his nose. Ouch! He yelled, ouch, ouch!
So many bees are going to die because of this.
Quickly, the brown bear scrambled out of the water and crawled into a deep hole under the bank. He sat in the dark, all wet and shivering, with his nose getting bigger and bigger. Oh, his nose is swollen because all the bees bitten him.
They stabbed him.
After a long time, very cautiously, he took a peep outside. He didn't see any bees. He didn't hear any bees. And of course, he couldn't smell any bees because his nose was so sore and swollen. So he crawled out an inch at a time and he found himself in the sunshine again. And he was supposed to catch some fish for dinner. Supposed to provide for your family first. You should know that.
Then jerk around.
So he knelt on a rock and looked into the water and saw a big trout. She kept very still, but the bear saw her and caught her with one flip of his paw. It made him feel much better. The trout looked even bigger out of the water, and the bear was so pleased he couldn't wait to show her to his wife. But halfway home, as he was going to the old dead tree, he heard bees, who were still fighting mad. They were buzzing around the hive. The brown bear crouched down and crept through the tall grass, trying to make himself invisible. When he was far from the tree, he straightened up and raced back to his cave, looking over his shoulder from time to time. Again, if you want to see the picture for longer, just pause the video. He was so happy to be home that he gave his wife a great big bear hug and kissed her on both ears. His wife was quite surprised by such a greeting and guessed right away he had done something wrong. And if you already have this book, you can follow along with us. And as soon as she saw his nose, she knew what he had done. "Oh dear," she cried. "Why did you go near those bees?" Smart. She's very smart. The brown bear had nothing to say for himself except to promise that he would never, never go near the old dead tree again. His wife put a wet compress on his nose and cooked the trout and gave him the biggest piece. Nom 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 nom. That was the last book that we were going to read to you today. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, smash that like button. And if you want to see more of our content,